Hey guys, Infidel 1258 here. Today I have a special guest, SteveR's here to come hang out and just have a chat about all things Splinterlands. It's the first time we've actually had a chance to sit down personally and communicate directly, as opposed to the recent video, which we did was awesome. Steve, thanks for coming out on that one for the art analysis and all that stuff. But this will be kind of more, direct and maybe personal. We'll see where it goes. We don't have any prepared conversations, but I just wanted to get to know you a little bit better. I personally, I've told you this before, and I mean it. I'm a fan of your channel. I watch it, and you see me recently in the comments. But even months ago, I was watching your stuff and taking your advice on, Actually, I think I told you recently on when I sold some cards. It was kind of because of you. It was probably October or November, and you were talking about how you were thinking about maybe taking a little off the top. And I remember thinking at first, I was like, I don't know, man, this is, I want to hold all these assets. But then I just kind of listened to you and I was like, yeah, maybe I should sell just a few cards, because I'm excited about Chaos Legion and everything that's going to mean. So what if we reallocate some of this value? So I'm a fan. I enjoy your channel. Thank you for coming to hang out today. I'm sure everybody knows, but can you tell them a little about yourself, who you are, your channel, anything else you want to say?
Yeah, sure. Thanks a lot, Dwayne. So my name's Steve, and I go by SteveR82. My channel goes by that, so it's pretty easy to find. And I've been a Splinterlands player pretty much since the game came out. I wasn't there for the very initial sales, but as I was a pretty avid card player in my past, I played Magic. I played a couple other games like that. It really dawned on me that this game was right up my alley. So once I got into it, realized it wasn't like a fake project. I started collecting cards, and I was actually a pretty small player for quite a long time because we were pretty early. And the main reason I got into content creation was because I wanted to expand my earnings back then in the Steam world and take part in a lot of the contests that they were doing in the blogging posts. And that's why I did that new series recently, showing people how you can use those to kind of level up your cards, because people are getting another chance to do what I did in Chaos Legion and buy cheap cards just by blogging about the game.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of how I got started in the game. I kept collecting, and then I started to realize, as we got our first kind of mini bull run in the game, that like, wow, there's a lot of value here. And so then I did my big moves I made in the game is I only really ever got to level 6 alpha teams.
Okay.
And then eventually at one point I said, you know what, I'm going to trade my level 6 alpha teams for level 8 beta teams, because I saw that you could do that, and I knew the game would go further than just alpha and beta at that point. And I'm like, I want to have maxed out cards.
Mm-hmm.
I did keep one team alpha, and so that I'm kind of cool. I have my little Zentaur level 8 alpha summoner and a few level 8 alpha cards, so I like those ones. But again, as we kept playing, and like you mentioned, I saw, like, we went on a bull run where I was like, this is wild. My cards are worth so much money, and we have this new set coming out, and I want to be in the position to buy like thousands of these packs, and I want to have the money set aside to buy those new legendary summoners, because luckily I learned from missing out on beta that you have to get those summoners when they're cheap, because they only go up in value if they're good. And so, like, my goal, what I learned, and I did it Untamed, was, okay, I got a maxed out Yodin, maxed out Llama right away, maxed out all of those ones right away. And then now this time I'm going, not only should I get a maxed out one, I should probably get 3 or 4 extra of each one of these cards, if it's possible, because they definitely seem to just go up in value and the assets. And so it was hard to part with those cards. But I was in a situation where it didn't make a lot of sense to hold on to cards I had duplicates of, because I ended up getting more than just one set of beta summoners. I had a lot of them at level 6, a lot of them at level 5, including my full set of level 8s. And I was just like, I gotta make the move here. I gotta put cash aside. I moved it out and staked it in some pretty safe places. I thought I could let it grow, and then I brought it back in, and that's why I was able to take part in the pre-sale, take part in the second phase, and then take part in a pretty big buy in the regular general sale. So that was all pretty cool stuff for me.
Awesome. And are you saying that you got into alpha, you had a decent set? They're all roughly 6, which is like for people that don't know, that's like a gold level, maybe a diamond depending on power, and there was no power back in the day. sort of set, and then you traded that in for higher level, kind of max level beta summoners. And I think you said you had multiple copies in some cases. Is that what I heard you say there?
Yeah, because I ended up at one point in the game, and this is kind of a funny story if my friend ever sees this, but I wanted him to play with me because he used to play these card games with me. So I bought him a level 6 beta set to try out.
Wow, that's a nice. In hindsight, that's a very expensive gift.
Yeah, but he didn't like the game, so I ended up just keeping all those cards, and it became my first alt account. And then eventually I got a second alt account with. So for a while I was running a maxed out beta and 2 level 6 alt accounts. And nice. Playing through 3 accounts in the game. And that's why I knew, I'm like, I got to sell off at least one of these accounts.
Cool.
And that's what I ended up doing.
Yeah, nice. I think we have very similar stories. I mean, I started with blogging on Steemit, which Steem was the precursor to Hive. There's a whole history there that I don't want to unpack right now, but
yeah,
Steem was a blockchain. Steem Monsters was on Steem. That was the video game that I discovered, and that was the precursor to what we now know as Splinterlands. It's really the same game, only it's been translated onto the new blockchain, which is Hive. And I was doing the same thing. I was earning daily rewards. I was recognizing that phrase I used, time and attention. Your time and attention is worth something. And I was learning that because blockchain was giving me rewards for my effort in blogging or vlogging. And then from the daily grinds that I was getting from Splinterlands, it was all just starting to open up my understanding of how blockchain could unlock value and rewards for people who invest their time and attention. And as I started to recognize the power of that, I was really starting to pour myself into it, both on the trying to daily, write or blog, trying to look at different dApps that I could explore that might give me a little bit more daily revenue, some of which still exist, some of which don't. And anywhere I could get like a little bit more for that effort, I was utilizing it to then reinvest or put it to work in here. And then even later, as that grew into something more major, where I had level 6, I had a level 6 Untamed deck, but it's the same idea where level 6, I did have a level 6 beta deck, and I traded it for a level 8 Untamed deck. And then I still had, because of the price differential, I was able to get even more than that because there was so much, as beta became meta, those prices rose. Untamed was kind of unheard of. It was still in print. The values hadn't yet appreciated, and so that move really stretched my dollar. And I'm finding that opportunity exists again today. For those who are listening, I'd love to hear. Maybe we'll ask you, Steve. What do you think? Does some of that opportunity still exist? Like you said, you did your own post recently, trying to tell people, look, you can get out there and you can blog and you can write on Hive or Splinterlands. I don't know which one you talked about, but you talked about that component. What do you think about maybe the flipping from maybe Untamed or beta or, into maybe the new Chaos Legion opportunities? And what do you think about that?
I do think there's going to be some opportunities if you're somebody who only has, say, like a level 2 Jotun or a level 2 Llama, then we need to pay really, really close attention to these new summoners and what they are and what they can do. Because if they can be competitive with those cards and you have an opportunity to sell a level 2 Jotun and get 2 level 4 maxed out legendary summoners because the price differential is that crazy, it might be something worth doing. Yeah. And everyone will have to make that kind of personal decision. And do know that if you're going to make that kind of swing and go get those legendary summoners at higher levels by selling some untamed ones that you happen to have maybe a few copies of, you also have to have the dedication to level up the rest of your cards, or you won't see that growth of your overall play and where you can get. And so that is an opportunity that is coming. I don't know where it will be, but I do know if you happen to have those untamed legendary summoners, since they are from the last set that is small, we could say, because I'd imagine going forward all the future sets are going to be in the millions of packs, not at 1.5 million. The counter argument is maybe those could become very, very valuable. So
yeah, that's an interesting point. So what Steve's alluding to there, guys, is that Untamed, there was only 1.5 million packs of Untamed sold, and as a result, every card within the Untamed, including these legendary summoners that I have pulled up on my screen here that he's referring to, Jotun, Byzantine Kitty, Scarred Llama, they're like $500, $600, $700 for each of them for one BCX, and you need multiple BCX to raise that card up in power. But perhaps because this was a smaller edition with only 1.5 million packs, whereas Chaos Legion has 15 million packs, which is a 10x, maybe there's a different price appreciation opportunity with Chaos. Is that kind of is that your opinion, or am I reading you right there, Steve? Do you think maybe Chaos might have a different price appreciation story? Is that part of what you're thinking?
Yeah, Chaos could have a similar story, obviously under a longer pretense, and I think a redesign that's coming to the game and the rewards. I think right now there's a lot of players who are really comfortable keeping their decks at like level 3 because they can still wiggle their way with some rented cards into like the Gold League. They can still make a good return. They haven't had to make that big investment because the investment, as you get higher, it gets harder and harder to level the cards. And but there are a lot of Chaos Legion cards, so I think there's more time into that. But we are going to reach an interesting little phase where Untamed and Chaos Legion are going to work together in a league that's going to have its own leaderboard. And the people who have the maxed out Untamed cards are going to have a big advantage in that leaderboard. Kind of like the way I feel like the people who have the beta legendary summoners have an advantage in the current leaderboard. Because there's certain mana caps that the 5s can only compete at, but the 7s kind of get priced out. And so when we get that new modern format that's only going to have Untamed, Chaos Legion, and I think Dice.
Yep.
And then
some of the reward
Dice
cards
goes
too.
Away when what?
There'll be a few of the modern reward cards too. That's worth noting.
Oh yeah, the rewards cards with the Untamed board.
Yes, will
also be in that set. But that one is going to be really, I think, dominated by the people who have the Jotuns, the Llamas, those ones, and the people who pick up and max out the ones that are coming in this set. The big question is, will all of those be out before the set comes out? Because it's hard to judge on pack sale, and we actually haven't had a legendary summoner come out yet. So yeah, there could be a time where there's only the Untamed Legendary 7 cost and maybe 1 or 2 of these airdropped legendary summoners that are coming, and they have their own modern format where they are really their own leaderboard to be the top players and stuff.
Yeah, and if that's so, I mean, it will be so for a period of time, I think, because it seems like Chaos Legion is really slowing down. I think we're about 10 or 11,000 packs sold per day now. And on the leaderboard, or when I'm on my window here, I'm at the Chaos Legion sales window, and you can see 7.4 million packs have been sold. So we're right around the halfway point. And if we're doing 10,000 packs a day, that's going to take a long time. Now, maybe this is worth unpacking a little bit before we go on, but I think the Chaos Legion pack sales will speed up toward the end of it. And probably at the end of every million too, there'll be a flurry of buys because people want to get in before the next airdrop. And then toward the end of this sale, as we round 10, 12, 13 million sold, I think there's more exuberance because people don't want to be left out. So that's maybe an interesting side conversation, but I wanted to finish you were talking about the new modern format and the opportunity there to run that leaderboard, maybe with kind of a smaller buy-in cost, not just because the collection power is supposed to be lower, requirements for higher levels, but also because, to your point, maybe you only need Kitty and one of these, or Jotun and one of these other modern legendary summoners, because some of them aren't even going to be out when the time that league is launching, perhaps. And so it might be the case that a really powerful deck I think almost necessarily it will be the case that a really powerful deck will be way more affordable because Chaos Legion's cheaper, because Untamed, because you need fewer legendary summoners, and as opposed to the old Wild, which will have all the access. You'll need to have some of those betas, some of those alphas to really be competitive. Do you agree with that? And then maybe if so, I'd love to also unpack what you think about Chaos Legion's pack sale out and kind of timeline and whatnot.
Yeah, I kind of agree that that's coming, and that's one of the reasons why when I found out that was when they first hinted at this setup, I said, okay, I got to max out all my untamed cards, and I got really close. I did everything through two teams common monsters, and so I
Yep.
still plan on doing that. But I was as prices have been coming down on everything, I'm like, let me just see if those come down a little.
Mm-hmm.
But the because I knew I'm like, if I can max out the new set, keep ahead of that, max out the untamed set, I'm only missing maxed out dice cards. And while like a couple of those are very strong
Mm-hmm.
in lower mana caps,
Mm-hmm.
they're not as strong in the higher mana caps, and the
Right.
game seems to be going more towards higher mana cap games.
Yeah,
um
that's a great insight. I really strongly agree, actually. The one cost, Anju and Epona and Two Gun Pete, Lens Master, they're all strong, but I wouldn't say I would. I mean, I don't own any of them, and
yeah, I don't,
yeah, I do.
because cost to use to me is just too much on them. It's like they're only really really good if it's a 13 or 14 mana match.
Mhm.
And honestly, 13 and 14 mana matches are dominated by the death team that just makes all your characters one life and then redemptions you to death.
Mhm.
So I don't see the value of a lot of those cards. Now you can beat that death deck if you're looking for it, but um, it's just I don't see the play there. But we know Kitty, Yodin,
Yeah.
Llama, they dominate high mana,
Mhm.
and that they can they can even win with like I like easily. You can win games with Yodin at like 22.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. Yeah, for the higher mana dice monsters, I do like, and I own a Max Oaken Behemoth. I really like it on those 99 mana matches for the second position. It's such a resilient and like beefy tank with a good amount of DPS on the magic and the melee attack. It's not a must-have by any stretch, especially because it's $85 per BCX right now. But I do like it. And Kralis is another one that I think is very strong, especially at the level 3. Level 4 is a lot more money. You need 5 more BCX of it, and it only really adds 1 more hit point, which I guess it adds 1 more melee, 1 more magic also. I think it's magic. Yeah, 1 more magic also. But I just sometimes I find, and maybe we could talk about this. There are certain cards that I love that even though I want a max level deck, I'm really satisfied by what they offer at a lower level. And you make a financial choice sometimes. You use I forget the phrase you just used a moment ago, but the cost versus reward, you have to weigh that, right? And sometimes you say, no, I don't need a level 4 legendary Kralis for my white team, even though my white team is decked out and it would be kind of cool. But it's, we're talking $500, $600, maybe $700 to make that upgrade from level 3 to level 4. And for 1 hit point, I just don't think that makes a lot of sense.
yeah, that's definitely something very important to look at whenever you're going ahead and purchasing your cards and deciding what to level up. There's plenty of monsters who can be very, very competitive without that last level.
Mm-hmm.
So unless you're on an unlimited budget, that's something that is you really need to study.
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not you need like summoners, obviously they have to get maxed out so you can allow cards to be maxed out. But after that, you can be pretty selective sometimes in which ones you really push to that max level to compete with. I know I can win with certain decks with cards at like level 6, even if I'm going against a maxed out deck. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely agree. And some of the cards that I feel strongly about on that are some of my favorite ones are cards that I've made that choice, like the Flesh Golem. I own it at level. I forget now if it's level 8 or level 6. It's 2 levels off the maximum, anyways. And Flesh Golem's like a very powerful green tank from the beta and the alpha, I believe. Yeah, Flesh Golem. I'm showing him on my screen. And I have him up at level 8, which is 172 BCX, and it includes 11 hit points, 3 speed, and 3 attack, with self heal and void. And for 172 BCX, I would have had to pay double, almost double, to get it 1 more attack, and that single upgrade would have lost me a hit point, which is problematic. Like in my opinion, for a tank. Or I could have spent, another almost probably 66% more, I guess, to have gotten to have gotten another 330 copies or so to get level 10, which would have been perfect. And that would have been great. But again, it just didn't make any sense. And it certainly doesn't now when it costs, I'm looking at the market. 100 copies would be like $650.
Yeah, that's one of the cards too. I didn't max out. I think I stopped him only at level 7 when he first gets Void.
Yep. Yeah, that's a good one.
And I was like, you know what? Once he has Void, that almost doubles his life against the one thing that's problematic for him. And so I was like, that'll be good enough for me. And
definitely,
it worked pretty well. And he wins a lot. Also because they put out Pellicorn Mercenary. I haven't maxed out one of him, so I kind of have substituted him for Golem occasionally. It depends on what the rule set is, but he definitely fits in.
Yeah. Is Pellicorn Mercenary, he's untamed? No, he's chaos, isn't he? No, he's a reward. That's what he is.
No, he's a reward, but I think, is he border? What's his border?
He's the modern, hang on a second. No, he doesn't have his border is not like shattered or whatever. So I think that means he's part of the older. No, part of the newer. Yeah, because he's got the chaos. Newer. He's got
so he'll be around in the new set, and that's why I've always joked that he's my little sneaker card that you could buy for 3 cents, like you used to be able to buy flesh golems for 3 cents.
Yeah, for sure. I totally agree. Yeah, so I mean, and now the Pellicorn Mercenary is selling for 2 cents per BCX. Is that right? Sometimes those windows are not right. 2 cents, but but that's only one copy, and it's 3 cents very quickly.
Yeah, and he won't go up exactly like Flesh Golem because he doesn't get his heal until level 7, and Flesh Golem heals at the very beginning. Yeah, but he is pretty much almost the same card at max level, just without Void, but he has Retaliate. So yeah, there's certain rule sets where Retaliate's better than Void.
I'm pretty
and he's faster and flies. So
and the Retaliate is really significant. Really, it's some people. I remember when I first started playing, and I thought Flesh Golem was so powerful that once I got it, I felt like I had an OP green deck. But then I started when I would lose to the Stone Splitter Orc, which is a card you don't see very much anymore because it's a beta, and it's really best at higher levels anyways. But if you're playing at a high level, understanding the power of Retaliate and I think is huge, especially with the higher speeds. Like that specifically, it'll Retaliate is going to give you that 50% chance to fight back when you're hit. And there are so many times where Orc Splitter has deleted my entire enemy's team, or where I've been entirely deleted because it'll retaliate every single time. And it's got such a high speed, but it's very much in those ways. It's very like the new Pellicorn Mercenary, which again has, especially at higher levels, has a reasonable 4 speed. And a good amount of hit points. So I would say it's better than the Orc Splitter, and it's maybe, I don't know if I want to say better than Flesh Golem because the Void is so helpful on the Flesh Golem, but yeah, for 2-3 cents per BCX is just ludicrous. And I maybe I would finish my point by saying I'm firmly of the opinion that there is no way these cards don't. I don't want to make a price prediction exactly, but I would say it's almost a lock that the Pellicorn Mercenary goes up significantly because it will go out of circulation eventually. And I think last I checked, it was around 25% or something. Look at this. So I'm on Splinters. This is Splinter Stats reward cards. It's actually Kyokiz GitHub.io, and it tracks all the print rates of the reward cards. Pellicorn Mercenaries, 28% of the Pellicorn Mercenaries that will ever exist have been released onto the market. So that means we're probably looking at another, 8 months, 10 months before it's fully released. But when this thing, if you just go down here and look at all the reward cards that have been released previously, and you just look at some of these names, and you go look at their value today, you're gonna see that when these cards are not in circulation, they go up in price. Period. And I think that's not a debate or a kind of a statement of opinion. It's how supply and demand works. What do you
Yeah,
think about?
and can I throw something at you really quick?
Sure.
So when looking at that list, and everyone is probably thinking, I got plenty of time, right? I got plenty of time.
Mm-hmm.
And then Matt recently hinted in that last AMA that they're going to redo the reward setup in the economy. And you're not going to, he literally said, no more one chest in bronze or silver, no more two chests, that you're going to be opening 10 or 12. And I have a pretty firm belief, since they've already introduced this, and it is speculation, but they've already introduced that you have less chance to get a pack in silver, more in gold, more in yada, yada, yada.
Mm-hmm.
So I could definitely see a situation where all of a sudden these common cards start coming out a lot quicker because they increase the amount of chests you get. But if you're playing in the lower levels, you're almost always going to open common cards.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you get up into the golds and the diamonds, you start to be able to get more of a mix of common and rare and epic. And legendaries will be very, very rare in the lower leagues, kind of like packs are very, very rare in the lower leagues.
Mm-hmm.
Because they were talking about trying to change it to where, I think as an example said, maybe you would open like 12 chests on a daily quest instead of opening 2. So if that happens, these numbers are going to start to fly. And another like big player that I followed for a long time, Neil, said that common cards are like the sneakiest way to make a big return on your money, because it's kind of funny when you think something only costs 2 cents, but if it goes up to 50 cents, that's a 25x. If you invested a couple $100 at those prices and just held on to those cards, then you're going to be a pretty happy person.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think I've seen that happen, and so have you with our valuations on our decks. Like in fact, my deck has gone up to 113,000 in the last. That's just my main account, but I have another 1 million power on 3 or 4 different other accounts, and so that must be another, I would think, 60 or 70,000, because those are cheaper cards. But this was recently 80, 90,000, even I think even maybe 70. So card prices are ticking up lately. Some of them are staying cheap, like that Pellicor Mercenary. And I think it's in part because people feel they're going to have forever. Like I think we are all like a cat chasing a laser beam, and we think we go after it as a reaction. What's in front of us, we just go after it without really thinking 5 steps ahead. If you start planning for the future, if you're thinking about this not in tomorrow and today, what am I going to get out of it, but you start thinking like, in 4 years, how am I going to position myself within this blockchain based video game that rewards me with NFTs and cryptocurrency to try and maximize the value that I'm going to get out of it. You can make little moves now. They're going to position you well for great gains later. And it looks like first of all, it starts with patience. And second of all, it starts with, understanding what cards are probably going to be meaningful and helpful, particularly. And that's a technical thing that you need to play around with the game in. But this is a card for sure. Pellicor Mercenary, Pellicor Bandit. I argue the Heatsmith is really good. The Conjurer, the Deceit, all of these cheap reward cards, I keep saying it and I have for months, are worth way more than their price implies.
And how about all those one-cost monsters sitting there on the bottom too? Because like one of the things you mentioned, those legendary one-costs seem too expensive because you don't want to pay the money to have a high-level one. But all of those cards are extremely fun to have in your deck if you're when you run into the Equalizer game.
Yeah.
And you get to throw a stonefish in the front row with 10 HP and armor.
Yeah.
or the Morphid up there with thorns, just sitting there absorbing tons of hits. And the Gargoyle gets void.
Yeah.
So you can have a voided, shielded, big tank for one in those matches.
I use this one a lot. I use it from the Attack Anywhere. I use this one a lot because the Shatter will if you go into a match where your opponent has 10 armor, which is certainly possible nowadays. This guy comes in with his little one hit and he just shatters that. And, for the cost of, you're talking literally 14 BCX times 4 cents, like 50 cents, US 50, half a dollar. You have a card in your arsenal that occasionally it's a tool in your belt. And sometimes you're going to use it and sometimes you're not. But if you're viewing this game as both entertainment and opportunity, and you're thinking about it over a long enough time horizon, not over a few days or weeks, but across a few years, then I think you're gonna see the value in accumulating cards like this and not selling. Like I think to myself, who's in here selling these for 4 cents? Like what is 60 cents going to do for you? I just don't get it. Hold it.
I've never understood that either, and I think that that does hint that at this point in the game there are some bots in there who are just farming the cards and selling them. Even if I was running a bot, I feel that's a kind of a short-sighted approach to this game, because the other thing that's coming that are going to make cards like this extremely rare is the land expansion, because we already know that you're going to do monster staking onto them, and that the higher level your monsters are, the better they're going to do. And so all of a sudden there's going to be almost an outside economy looking at the exact same resources you're looking to play, looking to buy the cheapest card that they can get to the highest level to get the highest return on their land. And so there's going to be a new metric that's going to push these cards up in value, because if a common monster at level 10 can mine at a better rate on land than a rare monster at level 5, then no common max level monster can be cheaper than a level 5 rare anymore. Because the landowners are going to come and buy them all up. And just stake them into the lands. So that's something that's coming that's going to drastically change this. That's why I've stopped selling cards. I'm not selling any more cards until land is out and functional. And been that way for a little while. So
I'm buying cards, and I'm coming in and I'm looking at cards like this because for what you just said, not only will there be certain bonuses for higher level cards, but there'll be additional bonuses for older cards, alpha and beta. And so it makes sense to me to accumulate, especially because I feel these things happen in waves. Price evaluation, appreciation happens in waves where older cards are recognized as meta. The game is kind of quiet and nobody's playing it. When I started and you started, there's just a few thousand people playing the game. Cards like this were being given away. These are all alphas we're looking at. And then over a period of years, slowly there's an accumulation of some excitement and some attention toward the game and players. And then it happens all of a sudden where, hundreds of thousands of people signed up for the game, and the price specifically of old cards really went through the roof because there's so few of them. And we saw some of that with newer cards, but not in the same way we saw with this stuff. And then, people like you, like I said, in October, November, whenever that was, when I watched that video by you, you come in and you're like, maybe we should sell some of this stuff and put it to work. And that's what I did. I sold some old betas that I love, cards I love, because I just wanted to reallocate that value. But now I feel like the wave has moved towards some of the more, the attention has moved away from these older cards. Because I know a lot of people are thinking about how the modern format is going to be their opportunity to play the game. They don't really care about the wild. They don't really think they're going to be able to compete in the wild. And I'm saying to you, absolutely you can. Your modern cards are playable there. Second of all, I think there might be better rewards in the wild, because the wild is going to have probably fewer participants, because so many people are thinking, I'm a new player, I need to play in the modern. That idea is going to deter a number of players. I don't know how many, but I think a large number of players are going to be deterred. And that is causing, I think, these prices of alphas and betas to actually go down. I know it is, because I was selling some of my really expensive alphas, in November or something for over $1,000. And I've recently been buying them back for like half the price. And so 2 points. One, the wild format is going to give you a lot of reason to hold some of these older cards. 2, like you're saying with land and getting the most out of it, having older cards is really going to be helpful for you. And so I think right now we're in a wave where people are focusing on modern, and some of those cards are probably overvalued. And we're going to see, when land comes out, I think you're going to see a return and a renewed excitement when both land comes out and when the wild format is created. I think you're going to see a renewed excitement on some of these older cards, and maybe especially ones where 1 BCX is really powerful, like a Goblin Sorcerer. If you're playing on a low level and you have this guy, 1 magic becomes 2 with Obsidian, and he's only a 3 mana, and he's not. You're talking a couple dollars, but I think there are cards out there like that, and I talk about the Saber Shark's amazing. I like Giant Rock. Divine Healer has the heal at level 1. And there are probably Crustacean King is another interesting option, especially if you're in gold. It has protect and heal. So there's a lot of great cards, and I think they aren't getting the love that they will when those two factors come into play. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I definitely agree. I don't know if there'll be a huge value difference to an average player when you look at the two modern and wild,
Okay.
because I don't know what they're going to do yet with the leaderboards. I think when they were talking about redoing things, it's gonna be, because I mean, if the game stays relatively the same and we do our daily quest, but we get more chests, the leaderboards I've heard are gonna have a little bit less given to them. And so if you're not someone who can compete for a leaderboard position, I don't think you're gonna see the difference.
See, what I was thinking,
Personally,
I would
but
love to hear your thoughts on this, but help me think this through. So my theory is this, that there are right now a larger number of players that are, because we have like $300,000 daily active players, 2 or 300,000 daily active players according to the data on Peak Monsters. And some number of those are bots, but call it, I think there probably are 200,000 daily active accounts, whether those are individuals or whether people have multiple accounts. Whatever the case may be, there's tens of thousands of daily active players, and I feel like most of them, from reading my comments, this is just anecdotal, but reading my comments, I think most of them figure they belong in the modern format, and they're not planning on messing around with the wild, except for those I've really been talking to. And if that is so, remember there's only a certain amount of DEC printed per prize pool per day per league, and that prize pool is divided amongst all winners that are playing in that league. If you've got 1,000 people playing in wild and you've got 100,000 playing in modern, that's going to be fewer rewards per person per win in modern versus more rewards per person per win in the wild. Am I thinking that through? You think I'm missing anything, or what do you have to say about that?
I think the one thing you're missing there is that bots usually fix those kind of imbalances.
Good point.
So if there is an imbalance and you're making a lot of extra DEC in one mode, that's
Yeah,
just where the bots will go,
that's a good point.
and they'll pull it all down, and it'll equal back out. I think pretty closely. I don't think that there's going to be some dramatic difference, because
Interesting.
arbitrage bots is a profession,
Hmm.
and anywhere one can be found to farm money is it's gonna show up. And Splinterlands isn't something where it can hide from those type of people. They're gonna be here. They're gonna figure that out, and they're gonna be like, oh, I could just run my, especially because you can just switch your new cards over to that league
Hmm.
and farm the rewards. You
Yeah.
don't need the old cards. If it was gatekept or something, or done a different way, like Chaos Legion's not allowed in
Hmm.
the other one,
Hmm.
then I would agree with you more, because then those bots might be like, oh, it's too expensive to get those cards.
Hmm.
But if they can just get the new cards, set up an account and just farm, you know, those DEC rewards, I don't think that that's going to be as prevalent.
Yeah, that makes I see your point there. I think collection power and the power requirements for league is a slight barrier, but I'm hearing you, and I think that makes a lot of sense actually. But you know what we should do, Steve? We should open my daily or my quest rewards, my season rewards, because I've got a bunch of them, and we can just spend a couple of minutes looking at those and see if there's anything cool. If we get some Chaos Legion packs, we can throw them open, and then maybe we can finish with Waka, because we heard about Waka today, and
Oh yeah.
they released the how much he's going to cost, how many copies, and all the details for people's they're gonna want to know. Okay, let's get this one first. This is my main account. I made it up to champion this season, so I got 80 reward chests, and then I just gave up because I didn't want to lose my champ record.
You know, I made it to champion too, and I actually played today, and I did something super risky and did my quest when I was only 1 point into champion.
Ooh.
But I actually got about halfway to champ 2. I actually got 3/4 of the way, and then I gave up because I got pushed back down.
I made it into champion 3 with a little margin, like I had 60 points or something. Oh, I got one pack with about 60-point margin, and I thought to myself, okay, I can 2 packs. I said to myself, I can try and fight and see if I can go on a little streak. Nice, 3 packs. And I thought if I can, wow, 4 packs. I thought if I could fight, you know, using that margin, I didn't want to risk getting knocked out. But if I had a little bit of margin to wiggle with, like I used to play poker. I don't know if you're gambled, but I used to play poker for money. And, you know, I come in with X amount of dollars. And if I go up quick in the beginning of the beginning of my efforts, then maybe I'll be a little bit more loose with my money, but only up until a threshold. And that's how I felt about my rank points this season, where I didn't want to. And then I got down to where was I? So I was in champion, and I came down to I lost my first match, and I went down to 30. Here it is. I lost my first match, and I went to 37-17, and I thought, nope, if I lose one more, so I just sat there.
Yeah, I had a similar story. I made it to 37-40, played a match, and lost to 37-01 yesterday.
Ooh.
But then this morning I logged in, and I'm like, you know what? I want to see, because I felt like this. I don't know why this season I felt a little bit like it was a little bit less competitive.
Mm-hmm.
I made it up quicker. There were like maybe a new group of players who were competing in these leagues that didn't have the best cards, but were still grinding their way into them.
Mm-hmm.
And I went on a winning streak. Like I won my first 5 matches.
Nice.
And I was like, sweet. And then I won a couple more, and I got some big bonuses. So I was like, because the one thing about playing on the last day, I was that evil guy, just barely in champion, playing the guys at 4,000 and taking a bunch of points away.
Yeah, that's brutal when you lose, and then you lose 20, 30. I think 30 is probably the most I can remember losing. But even losing 20 rank points for one loss is so annoying. When every rank point matters, you know.
Yeah, when you're trying to grind and you're only getting like 10 per victory, and all of a sudden you lose 25 or 30 on a loss, you're just like, oh, I gotta win like 3 or 4 more now.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the things I think they said they're gonna revamp. They understand that nobody's making it to Champion 1 anymore.
Mm.
And so this double points once you get into Champion to move up, they said they might remove that. Oh, there's your first legendary.
Nice.
Turn gold. Oh.
Oceanus, love them too.
Oceanus is a great card though.
Yeah.
If there's one legendary that definitely is like, people probably think he's still expensive, and I go, no, he's cheap.
Yeah.
Because he is just a beast at max level when he gets phased, and he can just be like an unhittable tank. It's ridiculous.
Absolutely. So powerful. So powerful. I've been buying copies and copies and copies. I think and I'm going to keep doing it, like as long as it stays there. And I think I do believe that people, my advice is falling on deaf ears. Like I've been buying, look at this. I was even buying gold foil copies of them. They were 100 to $110 when I bought them. I don't know what they're at now, but you know, it's such a powerful card. And I've just got like a wall of Oceanuses here. These are, look at that.
Very smart move.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. I haven't really started deploying outside capital into the game yet, but I probably will. And then I probably will right about now. You know, this you're reminding me. It's like, yeah, you know, I have some farms that are doing okay on the outside. I should probably bring some of that money back into here and buy up some of these legendary cards that are so cheap.
Yeah. I think this might be my last one. 40 loot chests.
Because
nice.
even the untamed legendaries are really cheap right now. I mean, not untamed. Chaos Legion.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I've been.
And Chaos Legion legendaries and epics. I'm like, I can't believe people are selling these cards so cheaply.
Yeah, I've been buying gold foil epics from the Chaos Legion. I've been buying, that's 5 packs. I've been buying Park Law, Jin Bilka, and the Dragon Archery one. I forget his name. Some of those are reward cards, but still, those are so affordable. Anything under $6 on the legendary side is to me absolutely nonsense, and I can't stand for it. I will buy them up. The other day I came in and I spent $400 on Harklaw, Bilka, and I think Oceanus, or it might have been Zyvax. And I'm constantly doing it because I think Harklaw gets, whenever I look at peak monsters and I arrange by whatever filter I'm choosing, this time it's legendaries, I look at the cheapest cards and I say, what, Harklaw is a legendary tank with, shield and immunity and demoralize. It might not be as good as maybe the Lord of Darkness or something like this, but it's an excellent tank. And Jin Bilka, especially now with Obsidian, I can't believe this card is so affordable. When you combine that with Obsidian, it's an absolute beast.
Yeah, and Harkla I think is one of the only shielded tanks for death
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
that actually has the shield ability. Certainly, like a big beefy one. I know they have the little skeleton, but he's a 2-cost monster.
Yeah.
So I like him a lot. I have a a decent amount of him, but at 358, it might be time to get more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
I mean, sometimes I don't feel strongly about cards like Ease of the Fanged. I have about 30 or 40 copies, but that's because I have so many airdrops from the Ease of the Fang. But if a card can be either an amazing like a tank, which I consider tanks, I consider summoners the most important, then tanks second most important. Third, I consider carry cards like Oceanus, which you might even call a tank. So then maybe Oceanus is perhaps a little bit even more upgraded in my mind because it's perhaps both a tank and a carry. And so cards, and then I think about like support or DPS, like, which to me usually means that they add some sort of utility. Maybe they do a good amount of deep damage, but they're usually quite vulnerable because of their hit points. I think Jin Bilka is a better, like one of the best for that, especially at the higher levels because of the camouflage. So he can just sit in the back there and just drop 4 magic bombs at the highest level with Obsidian's help, right? So those cards I'm super interested in. Cards like Iza, I kind of, even if this was the cheapest card, I probably wouldn't be buying it up because I just feel archery to me is it's nice to have, but it's not something that's pivotal for my success, especially with a sneak attack. This is one card I really just feel I don't
Yeah,
love it.
that card's interesting. She's definitely an example of a card. I don't agree with you as much on archery being bad, just because there's a multiple cards that buff archery, and when you have them, they get really ridiculous, and they tend to be faster than a lot of the mages. Not
That's true.
Oceanus, but the other mages in the game tend to be a little bit slower,
Hmm.
and so. But her problem is she sneaks.
Mhm.
And you don't see an obvious combo in the Earth team for like a sneak team right now. There's like
Yeah.
only a couple other cards that even sneak, and none of them hit very hard, so it's kind of a weird team.
Yeah.
And they're not consistent because there's like the 4-cost guy that sneaks. um they have
Goat.
opportunity people, but opportunity and sneak
Oh,
don't
that's right. That's right.
necessarily work together.
That's it.
So
Yeah.
they have the goblin and the 2 goblins, so the mage and the thief, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And I think that's it for sneak. So
Yeah.
when you end up using sneak and you have to use an archer, a mage, and a melee guy, you can't like, what summoner do you use?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
who do I buff?
Hmm.
or do I debuff, or what do I do? Because she's not great. I think her 1 saving grace 4-cost legendary cards are a little interesting for the little league matches,
Yeah.
but that doesn't happen enough for you to really invest a lot of money into that card. I
And
know I'm not buying her. I got enough in my airdrop to max her out,
yeah.
so I have a maxed out one, but I'm just same thing. It's like I don't use her very often.
Mm. Yeah. The
If she
stunt.
was opportunity, she would have been amazing,
Yeah.
because then she would have comboed with the new 3-cost opportunity and the vulture
Hmm.
to give them 3 really good opportunity
Yeah.
monsters, but they gave her sneak instead.
I think
So
the stun makes her interesting because but that's gold level or higher. Not every player plays
yeah.
that high. But stun is so powerful because a 50% chance to take away one of your turns is really powerful. And then, even if she's not killing that monster that she's hitting, she might be neutralizing a very significant support or DPS character that's in the back lines. And so that's interesting, but I still, she is not, I have a full copy, but she's by no means in my regular circulation. I'm doing Obsidian these days. And when I do that, obviously I'm looking for my magic monsters as opposed to, but if there was an archery, if there was a summoner coming up with a green splinter that was archery focused, maybe that would change my mind. But we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see if they get one. I don't know if they're going to do that because Prince had it in beta. So are they going to immediately in the next set give like the teams the ability that they're losing from the old set? That might seem. I don't think people would like that. I do think the beta legendary summoners would be really mad if like the new legendary airdrops are,
Yeah.
almost the same as those cards.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Yeah.
So I don't see them getting a +1 range. but I could be wrong.
Let's
Oh, you
hope.
had another one, huh?
Yeah, I just remembered the last one. This is my guild account. Oh, nice. Nice.
Another Shaunis. If you're gonna flip only 2 legendaries with all those flips, at least they were both him.
Yeah.
So that's a good pull.
So I'm going to open up 5 packs, and then let's talk about some, or maybe while I'm queuing it up, even we could talk about Waka. What do you think about Waka?
I think he's ridiculous because poison is super strong, especially poison that you would be able to put on snipers or there's a few poison sneak monsters, but there's like no poison snipers really. Because cleanse is kind of like tank kill, and you can only cleanse the front row. So
yeah,
the idea that you could start dropping poisons all over the place is pretty ridiculous, and he's only 3 cost to give an ability to all of your monsters. So I actually like that card a lot. I do plan on picking one up, but I'm lucky in the fact that I have a collection big enough to get enough SPS and get enough vouchers to where it won't cost me anything if I can actually get it. It'll just use those resources up, so there's an opportunity cost obviously to that.
Yeah.
But I think he's going to be really strong. I think that he'll be right up there with like some of the best 3 cost summoners in the game.
Yeah, I think I don't know if I've said this in a video. I've written it before. I've talked to people about it in Discord. One of my thoughts on Waka is that, well, I'm sure people know who Waka is, but maybe just to be 100% clear, Waka is the new. Hang on, where is he? I'll clip this little dead part here, just in case somebody is like new to the channel. Okay, here it is. So, like I say, just for all the people that perhaps are new to the channel or maybe new to Splinterlands and are watching this video for the first time, Waka is a new legendary summoner. He's going to be dropping poison. He actually adds poison to your monsters, all of your monsters, and what that does is every monster will have a 50% chance to poison the enemy that they hit. And to Steve's point, there are multiple ways to attack in the game, and you can have like a frontal assault where you're with like a melee or an archery or a magic, and you can have snipe, you can have an opportunity, you can have sneak, and those are potentially 4 different ways you could deploy magic on your enemy's team, or I mean poison. And so, you know, I think if you're doing that wisely, you can't heal these guys like he said. You can, but you can't. What's it called? It's called
cleanse.
You can't cleanse the poison off the back line. So yeah, that's I agree. It's going to be very powerful. One thing I haven't said, I don't think in a video yet, is about the cost analysis for him. I really think if you're looking at summoners, it's worth comparing it to the old beta
And the dice.
Selenia, is it? Do you think it's comparable to the dice?
Yeah, because if you look at the dice, they're 3s.
Yeah.
And,
what I was thinking, though, hear me out, is that Selenia Sky has, using Splinter Card's information, you can see Selenia Sky. So you can see how many copies there are. There are 5,500 copies of Selenia Sky, and if you do the math, that would be roughly half as many of Waka, because Waka, there's 1,000 copies, 960 of them are going to be regular foil, which 960 times 11 BCX is roughly 10,000 ish, and then 40 copies times 4, so it's a little over 10,000, maybe 11,000 BCX for Waka, and here we have 5,500 BCX for Selenia Sky, and that means that this price is probably twice as expensive, and it's a plus. It's like one ability monster summoner as opposed to some of the other legendaries that are multiple abilities. And I would say poison is probably as painful or as meaningful as like one archery. One archery is a good ability. Maybe poison is even more beneficial. And so, in my mind, this is an interesting starting point for the conversation around value. And when you look at the gold foil versions, there's only one copy for $5,000. You would need 4 copies somehow you would need to find 3 other copies at $5,000. That would make this a $20,000 card, assuming that there was even supply for that, and there isn't. So I really feel that a gold foil Waka is worth at least 10 grand. And I want to look at the dice, because your point is true too. Like what's the dice showing?
Yeah, the other thing to remember with Waka is that he's giving Death something they've never had before, and that's an offensive ability.
Mm-hmm.
So the Death team has never had a summoner that gives them offensive abilities. They just give debuffs.
Mm.
So every other and that means Death. Every single game you use Death, you have a chance of part of your summoner's ability to be useless.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like if you use Ulrich and they don't run magic, you're not bouncing any back. If you use Mimosa and they're not using archers, you don't weaken them.
Mm-hmm.
If you do Thaddeus and they're not using mages, you don't weaken them.
Yeah.
If you're using Zintar and they don't use melee monsters in multiple positions, you're only weakening the tank.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the first time the Death team will have a summoner on their team that can give all of their monsters an offensive ability.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. And the we didn't mention that people probably know, but they've now decided that they're gonna, on February 24th is when the sale is gonna take place. There's 480 regular foils that are gonna be sold and 20 gold foils that are gonna be sold, and the price will be 5,000 SPS and 500 vouchers. 500 vouchers is at least 1,000 US, and 5,000 SPS is something like $700. So you're talking like $1,700. And if you were to look at the dice summoners, I just did the math on Ouster gold foil. You're talking about 17. You need 22 copies of Ouster, and $80 per pop. And as you can see, they go up. Actually, it's $100, $200. But so I don't really feel there's one comparable summoner out there for a lot of reasons. But I think it's worth noting that the old beta, which is only twice as common and which is offering one ability, and then maybe having this in the back of your mind too, as maybe like this is only a rare, which I don't really think is equivalent in some sense. Plus, I wouldn't argue that maybe it's as powerful as say Thorns.
Yeah, I'd say similar to Mylar when it comes to power.
Yep.
But if you're trying to compare value, I think you're absolutely right. None of these cards are going to match it in value.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because of part of Waka we haven't talked about yet. It is not just being sold as a Splinterlands card. It's also being sold as a NFT, like to flex on people.
Yeah,
because that's what people do in the PFP world of NFTs. Look at me and my Bored Ape. I wear Bored Ape clothing because I got a Bored Ape. And so it's a similar idea. If you have a Waka, you'll get a companion, I believe, NFT of some sort, or ability of displaying it. I haven't exactly figured out.
They're going to give you these. They're going to give you these skins that you can use as filters on your Snapchat, and there's other components that I haven't fully explored either, because that stuff just doesn't interest me. But some people are interested in that, and other people are collectors who are just excited about a new promo card that is exclusive and rare. There's only 1,000 copies. There's at least 100,000 people who are, I think, in my estimation, there's at least 100,000 human beings that are financially pouring money into this game, and I think that's super conservative. I think it's probably 200,000. So I feel 1,000 copies of this guy are going to sell out really easily, and I would love to get 2 copies, even though the cost is $1,700. And the way it's working is that when you buy a copy, you actually don't know if you're getting a gold or a regular foil. You're just going to open it, and it's going to turn out to be one or the other. And so I think if you buy a $1,700 Waka and it ends up being gold foil, you're going to be laughing. I think it's worth, probably $10,000. I think $5,000 easily on Peak Monsters later the same day, and maybe even $10,000. It would be my guess, that range. And I would say regular foil is probably going to sell for around $2,000 to $3,000. But I could see it going lower. But I think I'm going to guess 2 to 3, because Ouster, not Ouster, the one I was talking about, Slinius Sky, is on the regular foil. There's only 2 copies of it, but it's selling for look at that, $2,500, $2,600, $2,800. I think that's kind of again, I think there's some comparability there. And remember, I said that there's there's twice as many Wakas as Selene is, so you would cut this price in half based on the way I'm thinking about it. So $1,200, $1,300, $1,400 for one regular foil Waka. That's kind of how I'm imagining it. And I could also seeing it be, more, but we'll see, we'll see.
Yeah, I could definitely see it being more because if you're basing that on like how many will be in the game, how many of them are going to be owned by people who buy them on wax and never even put them in the game?
Yeah.
They just bought it to have it.
That's true.
To get the other side of it, and it doesn't. It might only be 20 or 30, but that still takes 20 or 30 out of circulation.
Yeah.
And if they are those kind of wealthy, I want to have the best one. They're gonna take 20 or 30 golds out of circulation, probably.
Yeah. That's a good point too. Oh man, lots to be excited about. I think modern format, the league division, land, all the promotional cards that I'm expecting this year, because they've implied that this is not the last one, and I think what that's going to do for vouchers is going to be, we've got an exciting 2022 ahead of us.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when's your card coming out?
Yeah, I know, right? That would be really cool. I would love to one day. Maybe one day when I'm a super mega whale.
Yeah, we got to get you up there to the millions of followers.
Yeah, that's right.
Like Waka. But it is an exciting thing. Well, that's one of the things on the back burner lots of people might not realize. But the idea that they were able to work out a deal with a really influential person in his space, even though I've heard some people say, oh, he's not as big as people say. But still, the fact that they're trying to do that they're trying to reach out to people that have the ability to reach out to millions of players. So even if you get even if you get 5% of those people to actually join this ecosystem and realize they're into this kind of stuff, it could lead to a growth from areas where we wouldn't normally see it. We wouldn't normally pull in any of his fans into our game.
No, not but for something like this. So I agree. And frankly, you would every company that's growing is going to make some efforts in this way, whether this ends up being a home run or whether it's a more modest success. I think it's at least helping us create utility and show the existing player base, that there is utility and future opportunity around vouchers. And I think you're seeing in the voucher price spiking that people are a little bit FOMOing on Waka. And I think that might be just a good lesson, just regardless of what else comes out of this, because people keep sleeping on, like I said earlier with the laser beam, we're chasing this and that, and we're letting certain things like vouchers, they were down to $1 or so, and that's nonsense. This is, they've said time and time again, an SPS at 12 cents or 11 cents or whatever it was recently, all of this stuff, there's these amazing assets, and they keep telling us this is going to be meaningful, it's going to be super important to you, you're going to want a certain amount of this. And we just sleep on it until the moment comes where they're like, oh, by the way, a new amazing legendary card. And
and the cool thing about that too is, like, anytime you're thinking too many are getting on the marketplace, if they release specials like this, it's 500 vouchers for this one. What if it's 1,000 for the next one?
Yeah.
Or so the supply, when it starts to seem like there's too many, something will come out, something will use it up. I know I don't sell vouchers. I did a tiny bit during the I didn't really sell them though. I traded them. I tried to trade them during the pre-sale, and I did okay actually, and got myself some extra vouchers. But it's like, I don't see a good reason to start selling those until you're ready maybe to be someone taking money out of the game. Because for now, if you still want to build your account, if you still want to have stuff, if you want access to the most rare things, the most special things they do, they're going to involve vouchers. And if you don't have those things, you're gonna wish you did. Like when Waka's beating you, you're gonna be, if you're someone who could have had one but has been selling your SPS and vouchers, you're gonna be like, wow, that was a bummer.
Yeah, totally. And I think if people are wondering, at any point in the future with the next promotion or whatever, how many do I need? What's a good amount to have? One thing, first of all, you got to ask if you believe in the future of the game. You don't want to be investing assets here if you don't. Clearly we do. If you find entertainment in it, clearly we do. That's the foundation. But then if you're there with us, you can come over to Peak Monsters and use the explore top holders, and then you can see data on, you know, how many vouchers are being held by individual accounts, how many SPS are being held by individual accounts, and it'll give you your ranking. And I think that's an indication. Like when I saw that Waka was going to have 1,000 copies, and I came in and I saw that I'm number 1,000 for total SPS, or 257 for vouchers. I felt satisfied that I was going to have adequate supply to get one of these cards. But that's a good litmus test. It's not a precise measure or anything, but when the next one gets leaked, when they come into it, it'll be another AMA, and they'll say, and we got this new announcement. We're going to create this new card, and it's coming out soon. And you'll wonder when is soon, and you'll wonder how much does it cost. They won't tell you any of that. You can come in here and you can say to yourself, well, I'm in. They told us, maybe they tell us there's going to be 1,000 copies of it, but they don't tell us the price. This actually helped me have a sense of how many vouchers it was going to say. I predicted it would be between 200 for a regular foil and 500 for a gold foil, because I thought you would be able to decide, I want to buy a regular or a gold. And then they came out and they said 500. So I feel like that's an interesting little tidbit that maybe people won't know, but should.
Yeah. What do you think about the date it sells? Do you think you'll have a minute, an hour, or 0 seconds to buy one of those first 500 they release in game?
Yeah, that's an amazing question. I'd be really, really surprised if it isn't sold out like that. Like, I mean, instant. I'm going to be there. I'll set alarms. I'll be at my computer. I'll get my wife to set up my next computer, because I got to make it happen. But, I just, 500, are you kidding me? Like, you know, how could it not sell out instantly? We sold 1 million Chaos Legion packs for $24 a pack during the pre-sale.
Yeah, I know. It's like, I really want one of these, but I'm worried I'm not going to click fast enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
okay, well, we should wrap up there, pal. But is there anything that you want to tell them about the channel? Give them the channel name. How often are you making content? Any other, I guess, closing remarks?
Yeah, sure. So thanks for having me, Dwayne. It was a lot of fun. Again, I'm SteveR82. You can find me on YouTube under that, or on Hive under that. I also have invites on my videos to my Telegram group. I make content every single week. I do 1,000 DEC giveaway every single week on the main account. I give away Epic cards currently on my 2 alt accounts on Hive. So if you're somebody who's looking for a couple of easy ways to add a little bit more DEC or cards to your account, you can check those things out. And in general, I'm just glad to be able to come out and be on Dwayne's show, to be on Luke's show occasionally, and really start to grow the Splinterlands community when it comes to the people who are out here on YouTube and Twitch and who are streaming, because I appreciate all of them and the way they've been helping grow the game and just spread the word, and it's been a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. I definitely agree, and thank you very much for coming over and hanging out, and hopefully it's not the last time, and I can come over and see you and be on your channel too sometime. But thank you very much for all your time and for the amazing conversation. Hey guys, appreciate all of you. Thank you so much for your time and attention. I hope you guys have an amazing day. And if this is your first time to the channel and you haven't already, consider liking and subscribing, and be sure to check out Steve's channel also. Hey guys, bye for now.